You all remember that we said mysticism is a search for the divine. People who call themselves mystic are impatient. They want to see God, they want to see Him right now, right? And then mystics are those who want to bring to reality the idea of man is made in the image of God. You know, we read about it in the Bible and elsewhere. But they want to bring it to reality. You know, that how can we bring to reality this idea that man is made in the image of God? Can we be like God? Can we be God-like, in effect, right? Then, of course, last week we were talking about art and mysticism. And we added a couple of other definitions to this list of definitions of mystics. Anyone recalls what those thoughts were? What those definitions were?
Is the love of beauty?
Mysticism is the love of beauty. You know, when we talk about mysticism, love of beauty, you always, I'm sure you remember, particularly Italy, right? You know, if you've been to Rome and Venice and Milan and Florence, and these beautiful, and appreciate art, divine art, right? Seeing the statue of David and the works of Michelangelo in Rome and elsewhere is just amazing. It's awesome, awe-inspiring, right? You just want to go and appreciate and enjoy, and so this is love of beauty. So that's also the definition we get. So we can also say that mysticism is an artistic expression of religion in the form of architecture, statues, sculpture, paintings. I know Mr. Sabda's son, who's not here, is an amazing artist. He was 18 or 17 when he started drawing those paintings, his beautiful vision of the faith, of our beloved faith. Drawing the painting, beautiful painting of Tyre and Mullah saying the early believers. And so, you know, they made it to, I wish I'd brought some of those posters. And so this is an appreciation of the divine, being inspired by the divine, and all that. So we also mentioned, not only mentioned, we discussed at length the idea that becoming a mystic requires aware suffering, right? This is not something to avoid, but something to ask God to give us that suffering. It is an aware suffering. It's a suffering to bring us closer to the divine. So we should not say, I don't want suffering, I don't want to suffer. No, we want to suffer. But that suffering is not cutting your finger or something, right? It is that I want to become one with the divine. I want to become one with God. So this path is difficult. It's not easy, and I want to be on that path. So we want to want it, right? We want to want it and appreciate it. Otherwise, we can't get there. Then we talked about the fact that mystic rituals, you know, may include singing and dancing and poetry reading, and devotionals and yoga and all of those. These are all mystic paths, right? So any of these things that you do, or gardening, right? You're all on the mystic path. You're all on the mystic path. You should all be on the mystic path. And then we mentioned that, you know, they give it different names and they have different, perhaps different specifics that we didn't go to, and a lot of it I don't know, but I'd like to know the harmony. I want to know what their commonalities is. That, you know, in Judaism, they call them Kabbalah, those who are on the mystic path. Or Gnostics in Christianity, and we can mention Quakers, you know. Quakers are also on the mystic path, particularly, and of course Sufis in Islam, and the New Age religions and all of that. Now, with all that said, then I reflected and said that I've read all of these definitions, I've studied all of those writings, but then how do I, at this point, attempt to personalize my understanding of mysticism? So I don't know what you think, but that's what I came up with. That a mystic is one who can internalize at least one of the attributes of God. A mystic is one, and this list is too much, just too many things. I need to surrender. I need to be compassionate and kind and generous and all. So I said, a mystic is one who can at least internalize one of these attributes of God. Because if, it's hard to work on all of them at the same time, isn't it? But if you work on one of them, so many attributes. Beauty and generosity and kindness and compassion and justice. And then say that, let me just focus on this one thing. Because if you focus on this one thing, then all of those things would come also together with it, right? But it makes it a lot easier, right? It's not that difficult. So, for me, maybe a little late, but I've started on the path of just focusing on one of them. Now, also have my blackboard. I thought about these attributes of God and then I came up with sort of list. Now, a lot of these names some of you friends who are not Baha'is may not know a lot about the co-founders of the Baha'i faith, the Bab and Baha'u'llah, and then the eldest son of Baha'u'llah was Abdul Baha, and then the guardian of the faith, Shoghi Effendi. But as I started thinking about the attributes of God, and of course Baha'u'llah, being the manifestation of God, has all of those attributes, but at least one of them came to my mind immediately, and I wrote it down. And so as I read them, I'd like you friends, don't be bashful. If one other attribute comes to your mind with conjunction with one of these manifestations or the followers, please go ahead and say it loud. So Mr. Usui can also hear it. So when I thought of Bob, I think of sacrifice. Right? He gave his life, and he spent all that time being tortured and in persecution by the enemies of the faith. When I think of Baha'u'llah, I thought grandeur, majesty. And when you start reading the holy writings, the 100 volumes of Baha'u'llah, when you really put aside all of your prejudices and superstitions and dogmas and misunderstandings, how can you not say that this is the Word of God? This is the manifestation of God for this age. Who can bring so many beautiful writings for this age for us to read and digest and revitalize ourselves. Right? My first counsel is this: possess a pure, kindly, and radiant heart, that thine may be a sovereignty ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. Right? The beginning passage of the hidden words of Baha'u'llah. Abdul Baha, when I think of him, perfection. Perfection. We know him as a perfect human being who has all these virtues, right? So if you can think about him all the time, if you can read his writings all the time, reflect on his writings all the time, then we'll be on the path to perfection, right? Perfection. And Shoghi Effendi. When I think of him, I think of perseverance. In spite of all the adversities, he built the administrative order of the Baha'i faith. He translated so many writings of Baha'u'llah into English language. And he beautified the gardens of Caramel. Basically, single-handedly. He worked 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day. He woke up 4 in the morning and went to bed at midnight. All the time working for the faith. And at the same time guiding the Baha'is all across the globe, so that we will not be divided like all the other religions, right? Because Baha'u'llah says that when religion should be a cause of love and unity, if it becomes a cause of division, what did he say? You're better off without it, right? If you have hundreds of denominations, it's not the same religion of Jesus or Muhammad or Moses anymore, right? It's divided. So he says that religion should be a cause of love and unity. And Shoghi Effendi made sure that that unity would always be there. Then I thought about those letters of the living that we all know. Mullah Hussain was the first one who accepted the Bab. He was only 27. And from the moment he accepted the Bab, he went vigorously and fearlessly in teaching and spreading the faith, although he knew that he would be killed because of it, right? So, valor, when you think of Mullah Hussain, it's valor that I think of. And of course, so many other attributes. So I just wrote one of the first one that came to my mind. Tahira, the first woman who became Baha'i. And she gave her life as well. I think of her as a symbol of purity, right? Khodadoost, the young man of 22 who became the companion of the Bab and who also gave his life. I think of him as the symbol of devotion. And of course so many others, including Sulaiman Khan, Muhammad Ali. You know Muhammad Ali, the Anis, the companion of the Bab, who wanted to die with the Bab. And he said that just put me in front of the Bab so that the arrows and when they shoot, it will first come to my heart before it hits his. So, and of course Sulaiman Khan, who is the symbol of sacrifice, right? You all know the story of Sulaiman Khan, right? Who was one of those early believers in the Bab. When they came and they said that recant or we'll kill you, and he said, okay, kill me, but kill me the way that I want to be killed. And they said, how? He said, cut 9 holes in my body and put candles in it and light it and just take me around the bazaar and let me shout my love for the Bab, my love for this faith. The ultimate sacrifice, right? We have so many of those examples. 22,000 people who gave their lives in this fashion for this beloved faith, to ultimately bring unity and harmony to this divided world and to this divided fashion that we think about religion.